Nord report the best information in the global internet. I encourage you to subscribe and like and invite you to watch. An overnight offensive by Russian drones on the port of Odessa, located in southern Ukraine, has damaged a grain warehouse and injured 4 workers. This was reported by Ukraine's Southern Military Command. Available reports indicate that 3 of the drones were neutralized in the attack. Such news appeared on the command's social media. Overall figures show that 6 people were injured in the Russian attack. Suspilny, Ukraine's state-run television station, reports local power supply problems in Odessa. The region has been a frequent target of Russian missile and drone attacks in the past. Odessa became the target of strikes after Moscow withdrew from the Black Sea grain agreement, which allowed safe grain exports from blockaded ports. The consequences of what is taking place in the context of grain are now global in scope, said former British intelligence officer Philip Ingram to Sky News. He added, Ukraine accounts for 10% of global wheat production, 15% of global corn production, 13% of global barley production, and has significant global cooking oil reserves, with significant implications for some of the most impoverished on Earth. When prices start to go up, and they have already gone up 10% in recent days, it starts to affect the world's weakest economies. This has consequences for the whole situation in the world, trying to pressure the international community to stop helping Ukraine. The Russian Defense Ministry has accused Ukraine of a terrorist drone attack that resulted in damage to 2 buildings in Moscow. According to Moscow's mayor, Sergei Sobyanin, the attack took place at 4 o'clock in the morning local time and did not cause serious damage. On the morning of July 24th, an attempt by the Kiev regime to carry out a terrorist attack using 2 unmanned aerial vehicles against facilities on Moscow territory was thwarted, the ministry told Telegram, adding that 2 Ukrainian drones were suppressed using electronic warfare means and crashed. Although official communiques say there were no casualties, media outlets reported that drone debris was found just 2 kilometers from the ministry's buildings. The Russian Defense Ministry said in a statement issued to Telegram that the attack on facilities on Moscow's territory, carried out by the regime in Kiev using 2 drones, had been stopped. Ukraine has not yet issued an official statement on the issue, but rarely admits to launching attacks against Russia. The ministry also reported that an attack on Crimea by 17 Ukrainian drones was thwarted. 14 of them were neutralized by electronic warfare, resulting in the crashing of 11 in the Black Sea and 3 in Crimean territory. 3 more drones were destroyed by air defense systems. Again, no casualties were reported. Traffic on Komsomolsky Avenue from the center of Moscow toward the region was blocked, TASS news agency reported, citing Moscow's Department of Transport and Road Infrastructure Development. An attack by Ukrainian drones on Dzhankoi in Crimea on Monday hit an ammunition depot, while Russian air defenses managed to intercept or neutralize 11 drones in the area, a Russian official reported. Sergei Aksyonov, the Russian governor of the Crimean peninsula, reported that a residential building was also damaged. It was not immediately clear whether it was a drone that hit an ammunition storage facility directly or whether damage was caused by falling drone fragments. Aksyonov added that there are no reports of casualties, but the population within a 5-kilometer radius of the site is being evacuated. It should be noted that Russia maintains a military base near Dzhankoi. Ukrainian officials have long maintained that the city and its surroundings have been turned into Moscow's largest military base in Crimea. According to Russian Defense Ministry claims, 17 Ukrainian drones were used in the attack on Crimea, 14 of which were intercepted by electronic warfare means, and 3 were shot down by air defense. Aksyonov additionally reported on the Telegram platform that, for security reasons, it had been decided to suspend both rail and road traffic in the area. The Russian missile attack also caused serious damage to a historic Orthodox cathedral in the southern Ukrainian port city of Odessa. Ukrainian President Zelensky expressed outrage at the incident and announced retaliation. The explosions killed at least 1 person and injured several others, Ukrainian officials reported. Odessa, now the target of numerous attacks, has also lost other historic buildings, the Ukrainian Ministry of Culture reports. Odessa, a cultural center with a long history linked to Russia, founded during the reign of Catherine the Great, was once Russia's second largest port. The Ukrainian Operations Command reports on Telegram that many cars and buildings in the city were damaged and numerous windows were broken. several craters have also been created. There are power outages in the city which may affect public transportation. The current events appear to be retaliation by President Putin for Ukraine's recent attack on the Crimea bridge, a structure whose construction was overseen by the Russian president's company. President Zelensky, reacting to the recent attacks on Odessa, announced on his social media profile the defeat of Russian evil. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov stated, without presenting any evidence, that the Odessa cathedral was hit by a Ukrainian anti-landing missile. Peskov stated, "Our army never carries out attacks on social infrastructure facilities, not to mention religious sites, churches, or similar places. So we do not recognize such allegations. It is an absolute lie." Russian Lancet 3 missiles have begun destroying Ukrainian Leopard 2A6 tanks, according to videos that have surfaced on social media. One of the clips shows the Lancet targeting a Leopard 2A6 tank, moving toward the rear of the turret until the moment the UAV captures the rest of the action. The footage clearly shows that the 2 Leopard tanks were attacked by Lancet missiles. In most cases, the clips show kamikaze drones approaching the tanks and then switch to aerial views from Orlan unmanned aerial vehicles, UAVs, that document the attack. Although the videos do not provide a full picture of the consequences of the attack, it can be assumed that the tanks were not completely destroyed, but suffered severe damage, making it impossible for them to continue to engage in operations. The Ukrainian military has recaptured more than 12 square kilometers of territory in the south of the country over the past week, the Deputy Defense Ministry said. Hanna Maliar, Deputy Defense Minister, explained that the latest gains mean that Ukraine has already recaptured more than 192 square kilometers in the south of the country since the counteroffensive began the previous month. In her video message, Ms. Maliar stressed that Ukrainian forces are continuing their offensive in several areas, heading toward the southern city of Melitopol and Berdyansk, which lies on the Sea of Azov. In eastern Ukraine, the heaviest fighting is taking place over Bakhmut, a city that has been the scene of some of the fiercest battles of the war. Ukrainian troops are continuing their assault on Bakhmut's southern flank, while in the north, Russian forces are defending every inch and meter, as the deputy minister noted. Russia still controls large areas of territory in southern and eastern Ukraine. This information is presented in a recent report by the Institute for the Study of War. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has announced that a new meeting of the NATO-Ukraine Council is scheduled for this Wednesday. It is expected that the topic of discussion at the session will be security in the Black Sea in the context of the collapse of a major grain agreement that guaranteed the safe export of Ukrainian products from ports that are now blocked. Oanu Lungescu, a NATO spokesman, said the meeting was called for by President Zelensky during a telephone conversation with the Secretary General of the military alliance. The Ukrainian president noted that the meeting is one of several events planned for the coming week to strengthen Ukraine's defenses. The president added that new support packages are also planned, which include increased air defense, artillery, and long-range weapons, among other things. The inaugural session of the council, which took place during the NATO summit in Vilnius, was attended by state and government leaders. The British Ministry of Defense has announced that all Russian school children will receive basic instruction in the operation of combat drones. According to the latest intelligence, a Russian senator has declared that the education will include methods of conducting reconnaissance of the terrain and tactics for countering unmanned enemy aircraft. The classes, which are expected to become mandatory in September, will be expanded to include training in assault rifle handling, hand grenade practice, and learning first aid on the battlefield. These will become part of the revised Fundamentals of Life Safety program, which will cover students in the 10th and 11th grades, the ministry noted. It stressed that such direction in teaching is primarily aimed at shaping a culture of militarized patriotism, rather than developing authentic skills. However, the addition of lessons on drone combat indicates that Russia considers unmanned aerial vehicles a permanent element of modern warfare. Petro Andreushenko, an advisor loyal to the mayor of Mariupol, told Telegram on Monday that a significant number of troops and military equipment from Russia are heading through Mariupol to Berdyansk. located in southern Ukraine. During the week, at least 2 convoys, each consisting of 30 units of equipment, were observed moving from Novoazovsk toward Berdyansk, Andriushchenko reported. He noted that this was the largest movement found since the beginning of the summer. The convoys were carrying trucks with ammunition and attached Rapira-type cannons, fuel tankers, and buses. According to Andriushchenko, the movement of the convoys may be related to the replenishment of personnel, some of whom were moved last week toward Berdyansk and Mariupol, or it may represent a direct reinforcement of the front line in the Zaporizhia region. According to Petro Andreushenko, an advisor to Mariupol's mayor, who provided the information to Telegram, Russian forces have mined all the bridges in Mariupol and built defensive structures around each of them. In his direct speech, he stated, "Currently, access to the bridges is restricted and the defensive areas are fenced off. Despite all the propaganda, the Russians are intensively and genuinely preparing for the inevitable battle for Mariupol." Earlier, Andriushchenko reported that since the beginning of the summer, the largest movement of military equipment and occupying forces has been observed through Mariupol toward Berdyansk.